Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, February 18th. The franchise tag window has opened. It will be open through March 4th. So teams that want to place the franchise tag on impending free agents will have the ability to do so. Looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, there's really not a legitimate option when you look at the Jaguars 2025 unrestricted free agents for the Jaguars to place the franchise tag on. They're not going to use the franchise tag this year, bottom line. I would feel very comfortable putting some money down on that. You look at the Jaguars free agent list. You've got Brandon Scherff, who's a 33-year-old right guard. Franchise tag's not going to be an option for him. Now, could the Jaguars potentially bring Scherff back? I think that's a fascinating question. He's still one of the best pass protecting right guards in football. Struggled over the last few years in the run game. Most of the Jaguars offensive line did, right? I don't think it's a Brandon Scherff exclusive issue. I think there was some coaching issues. I think schematic issues running the football. So fascinating to see what Brandon Scherff's market will be this offseason. I don't think he needs to retire. He's still playing at a level that he could probably ring chase. Honestly. You'll look around the league. Teams are like the Jaguars. When we've been looking at right guard and free agency, we've been looking at, potentially Trey Smith, potentially Tevin Jenkins to be able to play right guard, Will Fries, Mekhi Becton. Other teams are going to have Brandon Scherff in that same conversation. And what's interesting about him is he offers more pass protection, where those guys are really better run blockers. And Will Fries coming off an injury. You've also got James Daniels coming off an Achilles injury. But Scherff I think he's going to be playing football next year. And I think he's going to be able to protect the quarterback, whoever is his quarterback, at a pretty high level. I'm not saying the Jaguars should re-sign him. I'm also not saying they shouldn't. I think you could make legitimate arguments either way. You can certainly say the Jaguars need to get younger at that spot, that they need to get more powerful, that they need to be able to push their opponents off the ball more. But when you talk about protecting your quarterback, Brandon Scherff does a good job at that. Okay, so Mac Jones is not going to be a franchise tag candidate. Franchise tags are, the prices are exorbitant. So you're not talking about franchise tagging a backup quarterback. It's not realistic. It's not plausible. Could the Jaguars try to bring him back as their backup? Yes. Would he potentially want to go to a situation where there's a better chance of him being able to compete? Maybe. I don't know if a team's going to give him that opportunity. You look throughout the rest of this list, and you've got guys like Andre Cisco, and he's really the only one in that category. Andre Cisco is a player that I thought heading into the 2024 campaign, it would be possible for him to potentially be on the franchise tag radar. But he had a really poor season, as a lot of the Jaguars defenders did. And I think had he played at the level that he played in 2023, or even taken a step forward, the Jaguars and a lot of other teams would have been really interested in adding him after the season, because he's a guy that is a ball hawk. And prior to 2024, he wasn't having as many mistakes in coverage, as many blown coverages. The Jaguars in general weren't until like the last 6 games or so of 2023. Things started falling apart on the defensive side of the ball. They never got it corrected, even though they switched defensive schemes, switched defensive coordinators. So Andre Cisco, I don't think is in line for the type of payday that he was probably hoping for prior to the 2024 season. I still think he's probably going to be a starter somewhere. I wouldn't mind if it's in Jacksonville, because we've seen what he can do. He can be a ball hawk back there for you. And maybe he needs to refocus. Maybe he needs a change of scenery. I don't know, but he's only 25 years old, and there's just not a lot of guys that are as physically talented as Andre Cisco at the safety position. Yes, he needs to take a step in the right direction, but I don't think Andre Cisco will have any chance really of getting the franchise tag or even the transition tag, right? Like you look at the safety number for the franchise tag, it's 19.6 million estimated. Transition tag 15.6 million. I just don't see that. I don't see that type of money for Andre Cisco after the type of season he had. So the rest of the guys the Jaguars have, Jeremiah Ledbetter, like him as a reserve player, role player, but no. Blake Hance, another role player. Caleb Johnson, a special teams standout, but a role player. C.J. Beathard, a backup quarterback who has struggled to stay healthy. Dearness Johnson, he's a back of the roster type of running back. Josiah DeGuara, back of the roster type of tight end. Cole Van Lanen, back of the roster type of offensive lineman. Tim Jones, back of the roster type wide receiver. You get the picture here. Joe Giles Harris, back of the roster type of guy. Asazio Tomewo, same thing. Deshaun Dixon, same thing. And Luke Farrell, I think he's a good balanced tight end. But again, you're not talking about a franchise tag for Luke Farrell. Franchise tag for tight ends is $14 million. He's not sniffing that number. And that's all the Jaguars unrestricted free agents. And actually, Asazio Tomewo and Deshaun Dixon are exclusive rights free agents, so they're probably not going anywhere. Van Lanen, Jones, and Giles Harris are restricted free agents. They're probably not going anywhere if the Jaguars want to keep them around. So the unrestricted free agents the Jaguars have: Scherff, Mac Jones, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Blake Hance, Caleb Johnson, C.J. Beathard, Andre Cisco, Dearness Johnson, Josiah DeGuara, and Luke Farrell. None of those guys are going to be franchise tag candidates. Now, as Jaguars fans, I think it's going to be more interesting to be looking around the league at some potential franchise tag candidates. And there's not a ton this year. There really aren't. There are good players set to hit free agency, but the franchise tag is at such a high number. I don't think you're going to see many used this year. And you usually don't see a ton. But, I think T. Higgins is a legitimate candidate for the franchise tag. And as soon as Trevor Lawrence kind of met with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show yesterday and gave a sales pitch a little bit to T. Higgins, Bengals come out and they're talking about probably franchise tagging T. Higgins and working towards a new deal. Javon Holland, safety from the Miami Dolphins. The Jaguars absolutely need safety. I think there's going to be a number of safeties that will hit the market this year that could really improve things on the back end for the Jaguars. Javon Holland is potentially one of them, but he is definitely a franchise tag candidate. Trey Smith, the right guard for the Kansas City Chiefs, potential franchise tag candidate. They have a cap situation to figure out, and they can certainly move money around. They can do different things. They have to make a decision about Travis Kelce's future, all that stuff. But Trey Smith, probably in line to be the highest paid guard in free agency if he hits. And then Byron Murphy from the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think he's that level of player at corner, quite frankly. You look at the cornerback price tag, is over $20 million for a franchise tag. I don't see that, but maybe the Vikings just use it as a way to keep him off the market while they work to sign him to a long-term deal. So I would be surprised if Byron Murphy gets the franchise tag. Honestly, I would. I expect him to hit the market potentially, or the Vikings to just work something out before he would hit the market. I think T. Higgins, Javon Holland, and Trey Smith are the most likely guys when you're looking at this class. Would love to know what y'all think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.